twice. And I remember having it with me. I was actually traveling to make a pilgrimage in France with friends, and I had started it, but then wasn't able to finish it, and then like picked it up again. And like the time when I had it in my hands, both times, everywhere, like sitting on the plane or in the airport, every time I had it out, someone was like, "What? Isn't that so good?" Like, you know, it was like people were always commenting on it, and it really is an excellent novel. I loved it. I thought it was great.
It's so funny to hear you say that because I read it for the same reason. It seemed to be a book that everyone was talking about, and I saw it everywhere.
And in the house, like a lot of people were reading it in the.
It got passed around.
Yeah.
Yep, in the community.
Yeah. So the basic premise of the book is that the main character, he is a count or prince, a Russian prince. It takes place in Moscow. And it's during the sort of communist overthrow of the like kind of elite, right? So because of his connections, rather than being killed by this sort of communist regime, he is given a life sentence of sort of like house arrest or exile in this hotel in Moscow. And you're told right in the beginning, in the first couple of pages, that like should he step foot out of the hotel, he'll be shot. And that's kind of it. So like he's left to live his life out in this hotel. And it's this grand hotel with different restaurants and saloons and bars. And you get to know this whole cast of people working in there. And you start to get a sense of who is actually like pro the count and against the, you know, like what side of the political aisle people settle on. And he develops this sort of family within this hotel. And it has like silly things. Like it's kind of a comedy not of errors, but there's like, it's laced with comedy throughout, like a kind of ironic comedy. So like every evening his routine is the same. Like he goes to have a drink and then at one place in the hotel, and then he goes to have dinner but like the menu's presented as like this, like he's this new guest coming, you know, it's like the airs are still kept up at the beginning. And then we're going to talk about it, right? So we'll talk about it. There's this girl who's essentially like dropped off.
Nina.
Yeah, dropped off at the hotel. And the rest of the story after it's set up is kind of this interplay between this girl who's like quasi adopted by this count and like taken care of, right? And how their relationship plays out and how the rest of the story kind of plays out. So yeah, there's this like sense of ironic humor, the sense of like tragedy of this guy being trapped here, you know, all of that, and it kind of comes to bear on their lives.
Yeah, it's delightful. So when in 1922, that's the year that he is sentenced, the reason that he is spared is because he's written a poem which was deemed to demonstrate some sensitivities that he wasn't entirely against the revolution. So in the poem, he is said to have some pro-revolutionary sentiments. And I find that so charming that a gentleman is spared because of the piece of poetry that he's written. So, and it hints at a little bit at the kind of playfulness of the absurdity that you're referencing. So
right.
I thought the poem was just a great example of that. One thing that I really like about those, use the word airs, but about some of the customs of the hotel is, this is one of the reasons why the book I think captured so many people's attention today, is because the Count is fabulously polite. He's a fabulously polite person. And he really is living up to what he was trained to be in his social class. And of course, the crisis is that everything that he's known and loved has dissipated. And as the novel goes on, there's a near suicide attempt that becomes very, very important in the plot. Because it becomes so difficult for him to face all of this. But to the extent that he is faithful to those formalities, to those structures of life that help him understand his own identity, the Count succeeds in keeping away despair.
Yeah,
which I think is fantastic, right? So one of the great...
Father Jacob-Bertrand, would you say that you're optimistic about this subscription appeal?
No.
Would you say that you're optimistic about anything?
No.
Well, I am. Folks, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. Cheers.